Lisa as our speaker this afternoon and thank her for taking time to tell us about what's happening at the Telfair and the Jepson.
Thank you, Deborah, and thank you to all of you for being here today, coming out in advance of the snowcalypse about to descend on Savannah. I'm so delighted we have an opportunity to be together today. As Deborah mentioned, I've just completed 2 years as director and CEO at Telfair Museums, and it's hard to believe, 2 years. On the one hand, it has gone by so quickly. It's just amazing to think of all that we've accomplished in just 2 short years. On the other hand, I can't remember life before it. It just feels like I've become a part of the community right from the very beginning, and Savannah has just opened its arms and been such a wonderful place to me and my family. I'm married and have 3 children, 3 young children, so we're busy, but we are so grateful to be here in Savannah and part of this wonderful community. Today, as Deborah mentioned, I'm going to tell you just a little bit about Telfair Museums. I hope most of you are very familiar with the organization, so I won't go into great detail, but did want to just take some time to talk to you about a really outstanding exhibition that we have on view right now that I hope many of you have heard about as well. And then talk a little bit about just our vision for the museum and some ways that you all can get involved. So, Telfair Museums, 3 museums in one. 3 wonderful, very different museums all under one umbrella. We have the Telfair Academy, the Owens Thomas House, and the Jepson Center for the Arts. 3 centuries of art, architecture, and history all wrapped into one. And I have to tell you, the combination of these 3 wonderful gems was the reason I chose to come to Savannah. The opportunity to work with an organization as outstanding in history and its tradition as the Telfair Academy, the oldest art museum in the South. We've also realized that it's one of the oldest art museums in the country, which is really quite interesting. When it opened in 1886, it was opened right around the same time that the Metropolitan Museum of Art opened, the Museum of Fine Arts Boston. It was really amazingly ahead of its time. So what a thrill to be able to be a part of the oldest art museum in the South. At the same time, the opportunity to be here shortly after the opening of the wonderful new Jepson Center for the Arts, the opportunity to lead the organization forward, to be not only looking and celebrating history, but to be looking forward to the future was just too great of an opportunity to pass up. I talk a lot about that we're both historic and hip. We're old and new, celebrating history, but looking forward and building new history. So what a wonderful tradition. And I realize tomorrow is actually Mary Telfair's birthday. Maybe Todd knows that, but maybe most of you in the audience don't. But Mary Telfair, our founding patron, who, when she died in 1875, left her home to become the Telfair Academy. I realized tomorrow's her birthday, so we should all celebrate her. And I have not proven this, and maybe Todd Gross, wherever he is, can be the right person to help me solve this mystery. But in addition to being the oldest art museum in the South and one of the oldest in the country, I believe we may be the first art museum founded by a woman. I haven't proven it, but I have not disproven it yet. So I really think there's something exciting and proud about our history here that we should celebrate. And a lot of work that my staff is doing now is to really do new history, uncover some of these really important things so that we can celebrate it even more. So together, Telfair Museums, with its three distinct properties, we serve over 180,000 people each year, from the local community to visitors from all around the world. In addition to the exhibitions that you see and visit, we also are very active out in the community. We go out into parks and playgrounds, we go out into the schools, we work with the local hospitals in art therapy programs. We're doing a lot of work out in the community, and it's really part of a strategy that I like to call national excellence and local relevance. And it's something that I feel very strongly about, that as an institution, really an anchor institution in this community, we have this dual role. We enhance the museum's national reputation for excellence in everything we do. We stand for excellence. I hope when you walk in our doors, You see excellent collections, excellent scholarship. You see people who provide the best service and the best knowledge to our visitors. We really are proud of having this reputation for world class and excellence. But at the same time, we also recognize that we are part of Savannah, and we must continually be relevant to the local community. We serve the local community, so our choice of exhibitions and the kinds of educational programs we do they must be done with the understanding of the local community. So reflecting the people who live here and the proud stories we have here, and making sure that we give back to the community. So those are, whenever we think as an institution, we sit down and think, what should we do? What kind of exhibition should we be working on and programs? We always look at it through those two lenses: national excellence and local relevance. So now today, for what I really wanted to talk about was an exhibition that we have up at the Jepson Center right now that I think perfectly embodies that spirit. The exhibition is called Spanish Sojourns, Robert Henry and the Spirit of Spain. I hope most of you in this room have had a chance to come down and visit the exhibition. It's up through March 9th, so if you have not yet, you still have a month to do so, and if you've been, you should come again and again because it's really outstanding. But what I thought I'd start by saying a little bit about the artist, Robert Henry. I sometimes call him the most important American artist you've probably never heard of. And I would bet most of you, many of you in this room, may have never heard of Robert Henry or aren't really familiar with who he is. But what's interesting is 100 years ago, in the early 20th century, he was one of the top American artists. He was the Warhol of his day. He was the artist who had an international reputation as a leader of the American avant-garde. And by avant-garde, we really mean the artists who are trying to be cutting edge and trying to break new ground in the work that they're doing. And he was a leader of a movement in art that was called the Ashcan School. And it emerged in the early 20th century really in reaction to what he saw, and a lot of artists of his time saw, as the very traditional academic painting. Now, artists, like entrepreneurs, and the best entrepreneurs and the best artists are the ones who break ground with what's come before them. They build on what came before them, but they push things to new directions. And that's what artists always do. They surprise us. They shock us sometimes. And that was what Henry was doing at the time. And really the only reason his name isn't a household name today, well, we don't have time to talk about all of our history in our little bit of time here today, but he was really leading a charge at a time when he had the unfortunate history to go head-to-head with Picasso and European modernism. And so that's really why we don't know his name very much today, because there was a whole other movement in art going on at the same time. But again, that's a topic for another talk. But Henry is really a very important American artist. He is someone who every museum in the country has a Robert Henry or wants to have a Robert Henry, and it helps us really tell the story of American art. And the idea for this exhibition came from a painting in the Telfair's permanent collection by Robert Henry that is one of the most beloved paintings in the Telfair's permanent collection. Well, I couldn't bring the painting in today to Rotary. I brought the next best thing, so bear with me. All right, here we go. So, right, okay? Hopefully you will have all seen this painting before. Just put it there. This is fun. Actually, we've had these cutouts in the atrium as a way to allow our Instagram and Facebook friendly culture come take their picture and post it and get social media out there about the exhibition, which is a lot of fun. But this painting, and I guess here's even another image of it from a catalog that we produced. This is a painting called La Madrilenita, which means little girl from Madrid. And this painting was painted in 1910 when the artist traveled to Spain. And he went to Spain because it was the exotic place to go in the early 20th century. And he went there again and again, 7 times in the early 20th century, and he painted some of his boldest, most compelling paintings there. People from the street, people who were the bohemians and the dancers and the bullfighters and the musicians. And these were so thrilling and interesting to this early 20th century audience. Now, this painting that we have in the Telfair's collection, he painted it in 1910, but the museum bought it in 1919, and it was actually the second director of the Telfair, a man named Gary Melchers, who purchased this painting directly from the artist in 1919. Now, Melchers, he like I can't just go out and buy something on my own. He had to lobby the board, and this is what he wrote to the board about this painting. I felt it would be a fine addition to the Telfair collection. He is a remarkably fine painter, one of our very best. Last night I had the occasion to meet Henry and brought up this particular matter. He will let you have it for $1,500. I strongly advise you to buy it for the Telfair. Fortunately, the board approved, and Henry, pleased with the sale, wrote about the painting to the Telfair board president. I feel that you will have in the picture Madre Lenita one of the very best things I have painted. It was painted in Madrid. She is a very nice girl, born and raised a dancer. That is, she is the niece of the teacher of dancing, Cansino of Madrid. Cansino trained her in the old dances of Spain. Although she is very young, she was already a very remarkable dancer at the time the painting was done. And it seemed to me that she had in her carriage much of the spirit and dignity of old Spain. Now, this painting is so beautiful, and our little cutout here does not do it justice. But it has hung so proudly in the Telfair Academy for almost 100 years. And it's just a gem of our collection, and I hope you've seen it and have enjoyed it. And the way a museum like the Telfair works, when we think about an exhibition, one of the best things you can do is build on your permanent collection. And so the idea for this exhibition, Spanish Sojourns, came from this painting, where we said, what are some of the best things we have, and how can we use the Telfair's collection to further scholarship, to further the museum's reputation, and make a difference in our field. And so we started with this painting, and it really was a kernel of an idea about 5 years ago, so I can't take credit for the idea. It was many smart people who came before me. But over the last several years, the team did research on all of the paintings that Henry did in Spain and assembled them, over 40 paintings, from private collectors and major museums around the country. So on view right now we have about 40 paintings, and they're from museums including the Metropolitan Museum, the Smithsonian has lent us a couple, the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts, the Phillips Collection. Some really, really wonderful museums have parted with their treasures to be a part of this exhibition. And the reason a museum does this, as I mentioned, is to contribute to our field, contribute scholarship. So this is the first time that anyone has looked at this group of work, of the Spanish paintings done by Henry. First time they've been brought together. And one thing that's been really very interesting is Henry often painted the same model 2 or 3 times and sold them to different people, and we've been able to reunite some of those paintings for the first time. And so we have our little Spanish dancing girl, and on display right next to her we have another version of her that he painted and sold to someone else. She's wearing the same necklace, which, by the way, we have a replica available for sale in the gift shop. But it's been really very interesting, because you can see the choices that an artist makes when they establish a composition, and it's been quite interesting, and it's allowed not only people who love to come and look at the paintings to see them, but also real scholars to come in and be able to see these works side by side at the first time. We were so honored to get national support for the show. We received funding from the National Endowment for the Arts. for the first time in the museum's history, and we have received other funding from other major funders as well. And once we finish our exhibition here, it closes here on March 9th, we're going to send it out on a national tour for the next year. It'll go to 2 other museums, and that will help spread the Telfair's word and the word of the reputation of Savannah around the country. Although it does mean we'll have to part with our own little Spanish dancing girl for the rest of the year. But the other thing that has been great about this exhibition, as I mentioned, national excellence and local relevance. So we talked about the national excellence of the show, but it's also deeply relevant to our community. First, it starts with our own collection, a painting that has been in our collection for 100 years. And Telfair has been providing school tours to 4th graders in the Savannah Chatham Public Schools since the 1930s. So I think every student who has grown up in Savannah and come into the Telfair in 4th grade has seen this painting. And how special that is that we can now connect our painting to a larger national exhibition. And we continue to use this painting and this exhibition as a core part of our 4th grade tour program. So every student in the 4th grade this year comes in and will see the exhibition as part of a tour with one of our wonderful docents. And because of the Spanish tie, we can actually have this exhibition tie in not only to the paintings and fine art classes, but also geography and foreign language classes and things like that. So it's been a really outstanding exhibition for us. And again, as I mentioned, it's up through March 9th. I hope you will visit. If you've been, I hope you visit again. If you haven't been, I know when I came to the Telfair, I said, what's the best exhibition we've ever done? And what I heard overwhelmingly is that people loved Dutch Utopia. I don't know if you all saw Dutch Utopia a couple of years ago. Fantastic exhibition. This is a Dutch Utopia caliber exhibition. It is outstanding. It is beautiful. You know, we've been planning it for so long. I've seen the little JPEGs of the paintings, and I thought, yeah, you know, it's going to be pretty interesting. But it wasn't until the night the show was up and I opened the doors to the gallery and saw the paintings on the walls and saw them pop that I realized just how spectacular it is. A lot of these paintings are larger than full size. So they really are these enormous masterworks, and I encourage you to come in again and again. And come and have lunch with us. We've reopened the new Jepson Cafe on the 2nd floor of the Jepson Center. They do a fabulous job. We now serve wine and beer with lunch, so it's a great place to come. And so, you know, bring some friends in, see the exhibition, and have a wonderful day of it. But, you know, we don't rest on our laurels here, and there is always something new and exciting coming on at the Telfair Museums. Just this week, we are opening something at the very different end of the spectrum, our Pulse Art and Technology Festival. This is a series of exhibitions we do every year at this time of year that focuses on the intersection of art and technology. Artists who are working today, the most cutting-edge artists who don't use a paintbrush anymore, but instead they're using digital technology. You know, they're talking to the digital natives among us, the things I can barely understand and my kids understand. And it's really exciting to be able to be a part of something very hip and interesting. And the Jepson Center it'll be illuminated at night from inside. There'll be all kinds of projections inside. We have hip-hop artists, musicians, really exploring that intersection between art and technology and interactivity that I do think is, for all of our lives, the wave of the future. Some other things to look forward to when the Spanish Sojourns comes down in March. At the end of March and early April, we will be really pleased to put our Varnado collection back on display in a new expanded installation of that. These are some works by some major artists, including Chuck Close, Jasper Johns, Roy Lichtenstein, some really wonderful works of art that were donated to the museum at the time of the Jepson Center's opening in honor of Kirk Varnado. And Kirk Varnado is a Savannah boy who grew up in Savannah, who went on to become a major curator at MoMA. And when he died at a young age, these artists who had really, their careers were due to Kirk Varnadoe. They donated these works to the Telfair, and it's just an outstanding exhibition of work. So we're delighted to have a chance to put that back up. We'll also have something a little fun. We're doing a Marilyn Monroe exhibition, both including some vintage photographs of Marilyn Monroe, as well as some paintings and works by contemporary artists who continue to celebrate her legend 50 years later. And then just two other exciting projects to put on your horizon for the future. This fall, we're doing a major exhibition of work by an African-American artist named Whitfield Lavelle. He is a MacArthur Award-winning artist, a contemporary artist who really uses history, history of slavery, artifacts from history, and kind of reworks them into these really compelling art installations. And it's a way for us to connect contemporary art also with the history of Savannah, as well as the history of the Telfair. A lot of work we're doing now, especially with our Owens Thomas House, is doing a lot of research into the slavery, urban slavery, the slave quarters, and all of the things that made, certainly the Telfair and Owens Thomas, the families who lived there, able to live in a grand manner. And so the idea of bringing in this contemporary artist to really explore those themes and connect it to Savannah is an exciting project for us. Again, it's a national excellence, local relevance. National artist, award-winning artist, but coming to Savannah and doing something really site-specific and special for us. And then fall of 2015, we're also working on a really great show that I know many will love, which is a Monet and American Impressionism show. And we're partnering with two other museums. So we're celebrating some of our strengths of our collection, which is American Impressionism, and doing a show with two other museums. So that will be great fun as well. There's always something exciting, and I know we don't have much time today, but I hope I've whetted your appetite a little bit and encouraged you to come into the museum. These are museums I know you know and love, but please visit us again and again. We are so proud to be part of the community. We see ourselves as an anchor tenant, an anchor institution, and we rely on the support of so many of our businesses and people in Savannah to make it possible. If you are members and patrons, and I see many out in the audience, I wanted to thank you so much for being a part of the museum. We really couldn't do it without you. As a nonprofit, we really do rely on so many. But if you're not a member of the museum, or if you've lapsed a little bit, or you want to get back on the wagon, I encourage you to come back. Come, give us a chance. Come join us. If I'm around, I'd love to take any of you through the exhibition. Join me for lunch, and we can show you some of the exciting things that we have going. We would welcome you with open arms. So thank you again so much for inviting me to be here today and talk just a little bit about the Telfair Museums and exciting things we have in store, and I hope to see you at the museum real soon.
We have time for one or two questions. Any questions in the audience?